You don't know what day it is, do you?
Wednesday?
Why, it's opposite day.
Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be drawing the opposite of what I normally draw. I was challenged to do this by Swan Creates. She also does art videos and just did this video herself. I'll have a link to her opposites video down below, and please check out her channel, show her some love because she's the reason I'm doing this video. Her art is super cute, her videos are very aesthetically pleasing, and she just passed her 3-year anniversary here on YouTube, and she has 554 subscribers at the time I'm recording this, so let's go show her some love. So yeah, links down below. So I'm gonna start off the video the same way she did. She wrote down what she normally draws and then wrote down what the opposite of that thing is. Now, I could get extremely opposite with this. Like for example, I normally draw human characters, so I could draw landscapes. But I feel like that's just too different because then I would be a bit stuck. Like a couple things on this list could apply to that, but I feel like there are less things to change up if I just go straight to landscapes. So I'm still going to be drawing a person, but normally I draw characters who are young. So instead I'm going to draw a character who is old. Normally I draw women, so instead I'm going to draw a man. I probably should have wrote woman. It went from plural to singular. In Swan's video, she said she normally draws characters with dark skin, so she drew one with light skin. So I'm going to do the same thing. I more frequently draw people with light skin, so I am going to do dark skin. I also like to include a lot of bright colors in mine, and so I am going to do dull / grayscale. I've pretty much already decided I'm going to do grayscale. Just no colors at all. I normally try to do really clean lines, so instead I'm going to do sketchy lines and some cross hatching. I'm just gonna write hatching because cross hatching won't fit. And I normally do art that is really cartoony, so instead I'm going to do realism. So I'm gonna draw an old man with dark skin in grayscale with sketchy lines and some cross hatching, and it's gonna be realism. Not like photorealism, just realism. So I found this reference image for free from a website called Pexels, because if I'm doing realism, I'm gonna need a reference photo. And the photographer for this photo is Yogendra Singh. So here are the materials I'm going to be using. I might not use all these pencils, but I'll use some of them. I have a variety of Staedtler pencils ranging from HB to 8B. And then I have an eraser also by Staedtler. This is a Factis eraser. It's just a little skinny one. And then I have a pencil sharpener from Muji. So that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to start off with the HB because it's easy to erase. And I'm going to roughly map out where all the features are. I have a reference photo in front of me on my laptop screen. Well, I guess we'll just go in there and start. I should have at least measured out the halfway point on the reference photo. I mean, I can eyeball it. It's about his nose, like the bottom of his nose. Okay. I feel like I'm also sitting at an angle. It'd be easier if this was on a slanted surface maybe, because it's a big picture. Normally I do draw flat, but I don't know. This is just such a long piece of paper. I'm also gonna map out where the edges of everything is. That's the nose. The mouth is probably roughly here. It's covered in hair, but you know, I'm just draw a triangle for the nose for now. I know you can't really see much yet. I think those eyes are too spread apart. I just want to stay really light initially for these lines. Okay, so I think I have everything mapped out, at least roughly. It's not going to be perfect, but it's close, hopefully. I'm normally not too good at doing realism if it's a person. I'm better at it if it's a still life. And I know some people will just trace the reference photo. Apparently that's pretty common. And then they just shade it in, but I want to draw it from scratch. I'm going to go in now and refine things a little bit. If I don't want to smudge it, I should probably start at the top. It's tempting to start on things like the nose and the eyes. I can put a bit of shading in there. I gotta remember I want to do cross hatching, but for little areas I'll just fill it in like that. I'm always very outline oriented, so trying to think not in terms of outlines is a little tricky. Okay, so it looks like you can see some of the whites of his eye underneath his iris. Kind of like that. I'm very bad for doing little chicken scratch lines, especially when I'm just trying to map things out. I don't want to commit too much to one big line. When you're copying from reference, it's all about precision. Although it's best if you do big, confident lines, at least if you're doing something more illustrative. This is tough. I'm gonna be very chicken scratchy in this video. I need to move this pencil sharpener farther away from me because I keep grabbing it thinking it's the eraser. Should I maybe get some of the background shading in there? Possibly. Oh yeah, hatching. Cross hatching? Huh? I mean, for some of these they're pretty soft. I don't know how much of the hatching you'll see. I feel like this piece doesn't come out far enough though. See, this is why I mapped it out. I'm second guessing everything I mapped out. I just feel like this cuts too far diagonal. It needs to come up a little bit more. I'm trying to look at distances too, like the distance between the edge of the paper and this line. I think this just needs to get well, no, I was gonna say I'm thinking it needs to get a little higher, a little faster, and then I'm thinking no, because that's at quite a big slant. I'm using my 6B pencil now because I want to get some darker lines here in the background. I've also taped down my corners so that my paper doesn't slide everywhere, but I'm gonna have to peel it back to expose the edges. I want to smudge this so badly. I gotta stick with my rule of keeping it sketchy and include the hatching. Ugh! I'm a smudger. I'm so a smudger when it comes to pencil stuff. I don't really do much pencil stuff anymore, but when I do, I smudge the heck out of it. This area goes almost solid black, so it's hard to do while leaving whites of the page showing through. I want to rotate my paper so badly, but I'm trying to not twist it in every which direction since I'm filming. It's just really hard to do straight lines from certain angles. And I'm actually going to just stop with the cross hatching over here for now because I'm left-handed and I don't want to be smudging everything everywhere. I am going to get a spare piece of paper to put underneath my palm because I'm already starting to smudge things, but I'm still trying to, in general, work my way from the top right corner down to the bottom left. It's so hard to just not do hard outlines when you're doing realism. Oh my god. I do more illustrative stuff, so it's all about those lines, at least the style I do. But for now, I'm at least trying to establish the direction the cloth is going. I also got to decide how accurate I'm being with this. Like I said, it's not photorealism, but am I still trying to get each and every proper wrinkle in there? It's one of those things where if I don't make it super accurate, when you see it against the reference image, it's gonna be not matching. You think, oh, that looks pretty good. Then you see it next to the actual reference and you're like, oh, never mind. Although usually when you post your art, you don't necessarily post the reference side by side anyway. I'm gonna do it at the end because I know you guys are gonna be curious, but trying to remember the cross hatching instead of smudging. Oh, the temptation is real. Okay. Because I could easily shade this with just a little smudge. The smudging also helps your lines look less like lines. Like, obviously that's what smudging is, but I mean the outlines. If you want to blend out your outlines, you just smudge. My blending sticks or blending stumps, they're put away. See, I made that part go up higher, but now I'm looking at the distance between the knot and the edge here, and it shouldn't, like, this is too long, this part right here. I should have stuck with what I had before, because now trying to trim this down, it's messing up the hatching here. That's why it's nice to have the proportions nailed down before you go in and do too much. I mean, everyone has their own process. This is just what I like to do. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward more of this and I'll talk to you in a second. Well, more than a second, several seconds. I'll talk to you in several seconds. So I took a break for lunch and came back, and I'm noticing more so now how off the cheekbones are, because I already knew they were off, but I didn't, that was more like me trying to get both sides even, but it was hard to tell if they were even because of the cloth here covering part of the face. But I was mostly judging the position of the cheekbones based off the position of the nose. But now comparing the cheekbone to the eye, this gap is too big. The cheekbones need to be higher, especially on this side. Looking at the gap between cheekbone and eye compared to my reference, it's a huge difference. And then even this cloth then is coming down too far here. But then if I move the cheekbones up, this is gonna be way too long, this line here. So I need to bring the nose and the beard up a little bit. So yeah, let's see if I can move those cheekbones up a little bit. Like this little dip I have going here should be more right next to the eye. It's a little bit low. Ooh, that one's gonna be hard to erase. Ugh. It should be more like this. And the cheekbone would be up here. I just feel like I'm making the cheek too long now. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try nudging the nose up a little bit. Why can't this be digital? Why can't this be digital? I could just lasso tool it and move it up. At least it's narrower now. Before it was too wide, so being forced to draw it higher up forced me to also draw it more accurately. There's some white hairs in there. I don't know if I'm gonna get those in there. I don't think I can lift the color off the paper enough to bring back pure whites. It amazes me when I see realism art, either in color or just in pencil, and they're able to fully lift, using like little erasers and whatnot, fully lift the white of the paper. And I'm like, how do you do that? My pencil just stains the paper. Especially this one, these softer leads. And then under the brow it gets black, so I gotta go in extra dark here. Now, for the hair, it's not gonna be hatched, but it's still gonna be loose and sketchy, since that's the goal here. I'm gonna have to try to leave some whites of the paper behind. That's tough because all the white hairs are kind of in the foreground, then it's shadowed underneath. It might not quite look like that. It's one of those instances where it's almost easier to just paint on top with an opaque medium or just erase and bring back those little white hairs. I just remembered I saw someone use a blade once to lift up some light areas. There we go, yay! I'm working on the beard. It's gonna be the hardest part because there's so many white hairs, like even the mustache and up on the side of his beard. That stuff looks okay. It's more simplified than the reference is, but it still looks okay because that is a darker area, but this main part of the beard is lighter than the rest. And so I'm getting a little nervous. I'll try to carve out some things with my knife, but you know, it's not like I'm gonna be drawing in every little hair that the reference has anyway. I just gotta make sure to keep this light. I like the look of the hatching, the cross hatching. Like I mentioned before, I really had the urge to blend it all out, but I'm really digging the look of the cross hatching. Smooth looks more realistic, but this is a little more artsy-fartsy. I mean, smooth and blended is gorgeous too, but this is kind of fun. It's almost like a little sketch filter was applied. I did some cross-hatching here to try to get in some shadows, and I'm kind of regretting that. That's one of the areas I'm going to try to go over with the knife to try to pick up some of it. Okay, you guys, I have finally finished this. Oh my goodness. I did way too many of the little white hairs scraping with this X-Acto knife. I mean, I could totally go in and do more, but I think that was enough. It was killing my wrist too. I did more than I thought I was gonna do. Wait, also maybe a few more spots on the skin. I had some up here that kind of disappeared. I was trying to adjust my values. Ooh, that was more of a line than a dot. I was trying to adjust my values at the end. Just like darken things overall. It's still not as dark as a lot of areas in the reference photo, but I tried my best. I think this is probably my best realism portrait I've ever done. I'm better at still life than trying to capture a person's likeness, but I think I did okay. I'll give you some close-ups here. Yes. It's not photorealism, but it's still realism, and I like it. I really like the hatching. It looks really cool. It's definitely a lot different than my usual stuff. I'm trying to tilt it so you can see with and without glare, although there's not a whole lot of glare because the 8B pencil doesn't have a whole lot of glare to it compared to the other graphite pencils. Realism is fun to do occasionally, but I still prefer doing cartoony stuff. I don't know. I just like it. Doesn't mean I can never do realism though. It's fun to do it once in a while. So yeah, there's me drawing the opposite of what I usually draw. And remember, I have Swan's video linked in the video description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.